All right, I have to ask you about this. I think you'll want to be careful in your answer, but I'm very curious to know what your answer will be. You have quoted that line in the past, that famous line about the tree of freedom occasionally being watered with the blood of patriots and so forth. How do you see the actions of this man yesterday in Austin who flew his plane into the IRS offices in that building?
I'm grieved by the desperation of that act. I think it's indicative of the hopelessness that many in our society feel. As a nurse who has managed mental health facilities, I understand that people hurt, and you hope that you can provide counseling and assistance. I've seen a copy of what I believe to be his suicide note, and it's just filled with a life of desperation, and it just grieves me. But I think there is that sense in all of our country that we are not on the right path. It's why this race is so important. People are really understanding that, in fact, the Constitution was the best blueprint ever laid for freedom and prosperity.
Okay, but are you saying that you sympathize with him?
No, I grieve for him. I'm very sympathetic for the family, for his family, for the families of those victims, innocent victims in that building. My understanding is there was another life lost and a couple in critical condition. Certainly there's great trauma. Whether you were physically injured or not, you're in that building and you're shaken when someone takes an action as destructive as that. You know, you want to take your own life. That's tragic enough, but to do something as harmful and destructive as what he did shows a great deal of anger, I think, and desperation. Without, knowing a lot about it, I want to be careful not to get off and start making assessments and judgments. I think it's pretty clear that there was desperation, and it's something that, to some degree, I think many in our society feel. We're in an economic recession. It's tragic, and we have the important thing, Jack, I think, is that we have an opportunity as public policy spokespeople, if you will, to make sure that our laws are fair and just, and that people are free, they get help from their families and their communities and their churches.
I guess I'm a little confused by this, though, because it would seem to me that as someone who is so well thought of by this Tea Party movement, and as you say, a citizen candidate, I would think you would want to make the clear distinction that whatever this man's disturbances or personal problems, he committed a monstrous act that could have taken many, many more lives and could have been even more destructive than it was, and that somehow you'd want to divorce the act from whatever you think of the abuses of government or the Constitution or the IRS or whatever.
Absolutely, and thank you. Yes, I mean, regardless of how desperate you feel, right? Regardless of how desperate you feel, you cannot.
Okay, but you didn't say that. That's what I was thinking you would say, but you didn't. You sort of said, well, this is indicative of the desperation, which almost to me puts the Tea Party, links the Tea Party movement to his action, and I can't fathom why you would do that.
And you started with the quote of the tree of liberty is watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots. I don't see any relationship between that sort of behavior and what this gentleman did, and I think I'm guilty here of not stating the obvious, and you're right. Maybe I should have said that. I just think that's obvious. You cannot excuse that sort of behavior. You can offer sympathy and condolence to his family. You certainly have to be sympathetic to the individuals who, as I indicated, are innocent victims, the people that were in that building doing their job that day, them and their families, the lives lost there, people in critical condition, a number injured, but even beyond those who were physically injured, you've got a whole community around there that's been tragically impacted by that. I make the assumption that it goes without saying you cannot excuse that type of behavior. It is atrocious.
Let me